Okay guys, now the most common question for 3 or 4 marks that you get from real numbers for class 10 is to prove something is irrational. So how do we prove? If you remember the first main video, we told that root 2, root 3, root 6, they are all irrational. Now there are two ways to prove it. One is, if you know the division method, you can try finding the square root of 2, 3, 6, 7, 5. You will get non-repeating, non-terminating. But there is another way to prove they are irrational. That is, let's say, okay, I ask you to prove root 3 is irrational. So now before proving root 3 is irrational, what you need to, how do you prove it? Let us assume it is rational. Let's say root 3 is rational. So this is how you start the problem. Let root 3 be rational. Which means, what does it mean? What are real numbers? Can be written in the form, rational numbers can be written in the form P by Q. Hence, root 3 can be written in the form P by Q, where Q not equal to 0 and P and Q are co-prime. Very important, right? If you remember from the main video, any rational number can be written in the form P by Q, where Q is not equal to 0 and P and Q are co-prime. Alright? Now, what does that mean? Root 3 can be written as P by Q, or root 3 is equal to P by Q. Now, I'll transpose this Q this side. So, what do I get? Root 3Q equal to P. Now, squaring both sides, I get 3Q square equal to P square. Now, P square is equal to 3 into Q square, which means what? P square is divisible by 3, right? Because P square is in the form 3 into Q square, which means P square is divisible by 3. If P square is divisible by 3, it also means P is divisible by 3. For example, if 4 square is divisible by 2, 4 is also divisible by 2. Let's say 8 square is divisible by 4, which means 8 is also divisible by 4. Take any example. 8 square is 64. Is it divisible by 4? Yes. 8 is also divisible by 4. Take 27. Is 27 divisible by 3, which means not 27, any square, that is 36. 36 is divisible by 3, which means root of 36, that is 6 is also divisible by 3. Understood? So, if P square is divisible by 3, P is also divisible by 3. Now, let us take this thing. Let P, what is on the right hand side, be equal to 3C. Let it be equal to 3C. Now, how can we take any random number equal to 3C? This is how you should understand it. Don't have to write it in the exam. For example, let's say P was 5. If I want to write it in the form 3C, 5 can be written as 3 into 5 by 3, right? So, P is in the form 3C. Anything, 17, if I want to write it as 8C, I can write it as 8 into 17 by 8. So, 8C. So, this is what it means. How you write P equal to, this is how P becomes equal to 3C. So, now we have P equal to 3C. Substitute this in the first equation. So, from 1, this is our first equation where we got 3Q square equal to P square. What do we get? 3Q square equal to, instead of P now it is 3C whole square. So, 3Q square equal to 9C square. So, 3 ones are 3s are. When I transpose 3, it becomes division. So, what do we have? Q square equal to 3C square. Now, what does this mean? Q square is divisible by 3. Therefore, Q is also divisible by 3. Now what do we have? P is also divisible by 3, Q is also divisible by 3. But what was the assumption? That P and Q are co-prime, right? So how is this? How has this happened? This has happened because our assumption that root 3 is rational is wrong. Hence it is irrational. That is all you need to write. But after this is what you'll write. Okay, the wordings, it depends from teacher to teacher. Different teachers will give you different wordings. What we write is, this is the best thing to write according to me. P and Q are not co-prime. This is because our assumption root 3 is rational is wrong. Hence, root 3 is irrational. So we have proved root 3 is irrational. Just pause the video on this particular frame and make sure that you go through everything. When you are proving something is irrational, this is how you are going to prove it. Only few numbers are going to change. How do we prove? How do you prove something is irrational? Assume it is rational. If it is rational, it can be written in the form P by Q, where P and Q are co-prime. Then, since it is rational and can be written as irrational, you will say this, whatever you are proving irrational, equal to P by Q, transpose, get this, then take P as something, get this, and then you will find that P and Q are not co-prime. They have a common factor, some common factor. Then you will write P and Q are not co-prime. This is because our assumption root 3 is rational is wrong. Hence, root 3 is rational. For any problem where you have to prove some number is irrational, this is how you will do it. For example, if I had asked you to prove root 7 is irrational, what we would have done? Here it would be root 7, 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 here you would have got 7q square equal to p square. Now here and here again you would have written p square is divisible by 7, p is divisible by 7. The only place where you will change is here. For the previous problem we had taken let p be equal to 3c. Since we are proving root 7 is irrational, you will take p equal to 7c. So here it becomes 7q square equal to 7c square. So this becomes 7, this becomes 49. Again 7 ones are 7s are. So here it becomes 7 and everywhere. So this is the only part that is going to change. Wherever there is 3, we have to put 7 and we have to take p as 7c. If I had asked you to prove root 11 is irrational, let root 11 be rational, hence root 11 can be written in the form p by q. Hence root 11 equal to p by q. Root 11, everywhere where there was 7, now I am just putting 11, right? Here p equal to 7c, p equal to 11c. Here again wherever 7 is there it will become 11 and here it will become 11, here it will become 121. 11 ones are 11, 11s are. So 11, 11, 11. And here again 11 and 11. So everything remains same, only the numbers will change. This is the method to prove that some number is root of some prime number is irrational. I hope you understood this. Now we'll go for the next kind of problem. Okay, the other kind of problem is, let's say they ask you to prove 5 plus root 3 is irrational. How do we do? Again, assume let 5 plus root 3 be rational. If 5 plus root 3 is rational, it can be written in the form P by Q, where Q not equal to 0 and P and Q are co-prime. Very important to write this, right? So it can be written in the form P by Q. So what do we have? 5 plus root 3 equal to P by Q. I'll transpose 5 on the other side. What do we have? Root 3 equal to P by Q minus 5. So we have root 3 equal to, taking LCM by 1 into Q. We have P minus 5Q by Q. Now what do we have? Left hand side is irrational and right hand side is rational. This is not possible. You can never have left hand side irrational, right hand side rational. You cannot have one of the sides irrational, one of the sides rational. Why is this happening? Hence, our assumption that 5 plus root 3 is rational is wrong. So we assume 5 plus root 3 is rational, it is wrong, hence it is irrational. Simple. This is all you have to do in these kind of problems. Now, one thing I need to tell you guys is, some teachers will expect you to prove root 3 is irrational first and then do this. That is up to your teachers. It is best to ask your teachers whether you should prove root 3 is irrational first and then do this. Otherwise, as far as I am concerned, we already know root 3 is irrational from last year. So we can just do this. This should be sufficient. But if you don't want to take a risk, or if you have sufficient time, what you can do is, you can prove root 3 is irrational first, you know, from the previous problem that I explained, and then prove 5 plus root 3 is irrational in this manner. Now, any problem where this kind of problem, you will be doing it in the same way. For example, if they had asked you to prove 1 by 5 root 7, 1 by 5 root 7 is irrational. You have to prove 1 by 5 root 7 is irrational. What will you do? You will take let it be rational. So what do we get? We get 1 by 5 root 7 equal to P by Q. Now all we have to do is transpose. So I'll take Q on this side, P there. So Q by P equal to, when I take 5, it will become 5 root 7, right? Now all I'll do is transpose 5. So Q by 5P equal to root 7. Now what do we have? Left hand side is rational and right hand side is irrational. This is not possible. One side cannot be rational, one side cannot be irrational. This is because our assumption that 1 by 5 root 7 is rational is wrong. Hence it is irrational. So if you get anything like this, all you have to do is transpose all the rational part on the other side, keep the irrational part on one side. Are you getting it? Like for example, if I had given you root 2 minus 6, what you would have done? You would have taken root 2 minus 6 equal to P by Q. All you have to do is keep the irrational part on one side, transpose everything else on the other. So it would become root 2 equal to P by Q plus 6, which means root 2 equal to P plus 6Q by Q. So what do you have? Left hand side is irrational, right hand side is rational. Again, one side is rational, one side is irrational, which is not possible because our assumption that it is rational is wrong. Hence, it will be irrational. So now we've learned two kinds of questions in most common questions that will appear for your exams. These are the only two kind of questions that come from this topic, from rational numbers in under real numbers. One is to prove root 3, root 5, root 7, root 11. If they've just asked you to prove it's irrational, I've explained it in the first module. Exactly, that is the way you will prove it is irrational. Second is, you'll get some number like 5 plus root 2 or 7 minus root 3 or 2 by root 4, root 5, something like that. in those kind of questions, all you have to do is keep the irrational number on one side and transpose everything on the other. And hence you will prove, because left hand side and right hand side are rational and irrational, which is not possible, you can tell that it is irrational. So I hope you have understood this module. Very simple problems. Again, we have given you a couple of problems in the test. Try to do it and see if you are able to do it without seeing. You can actually keep this screen, you can also pause on this screen. Only these parts are going to change. Remember, only the transposing part will change. You will get one side as rational or one side as rational and the other side as irrational. You might, like, depending on how you transpose, your left hand side might be irrational or your right hand side might be irrational. All you have to remember is to transpose correctly. Keep the irrational part on one side, transpose everything else on the other.